Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with a very special guest today. Reason why this is a special interview and discussion is I have my former teammate here from Drake University. I have known Robin Goodman for about 20 years, and he is now the associate head women's tennis coach at Tennessee. Rob, welcome on.
Thanks for having me, James. An absolute pleasure. And I must admit, it's a little bit odd having played with you for 4 years, and now we're on here doing a formal chat, but it's good.
Tell us where you are right now. College coach. Obviously, don't spend too much time at home. Where are you? Tell us a little bit about your summer and how all your travel.
Yeah, so I was hired here in May. Been on the road a lot, been traveling a lot for recruiting, and right now I'm currently in day one in Cary in the All Americans. We just had 3 players play today, and looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
Where have you gone this summer? Talk us through some destinations, countries as a college tennis coach. Where have you gone?
So I've been to, I was obviously in England, and then I came back to the US, and then went back to England again for more recruiting purposes. Came back, and then a couple of days in California. Was going to head to Paraguay for the Pan Am Games, and then back to Knoxville, back to Dominican Republic. So I've been, and then up to the US Open for 4 days. So it's been probably less about where I've been, and the speed at which we've been bouncing around has been pretty hectic, but also awesome. Been loving it.
How do you think college coaches feel when they have to travel so much? Do you have any advice for college tennis coaches out there who are having to go across the entire world to find players, but also take their players to tournaments?
Yeah, I think I think it can be draining. I think it's all about the attitude and how you approach it. I mean, a lot of the players that we're coaching want to play on the Pro Tour as well, and so they're going to have to travel from tournament to tournament to tournament. I'm also fortunate because I don't have a family and wife and kids to get home to, so I can bounce around with freedom. I think when you've got that, it can be a little bit more of a challenge. But I absolutely love traveling. I think if you don't love traveling, I think it can take its toll for sure.
Got it. Well, just so everyone knows, Robin Goodman's story here. He played college tennis at Drake University. He then took a graduate assistant role at Baylor for the men's team. He then went to New Mexico as the assistant coach for the head coach was Ben Dunbar. Is that right?
Correct.
And then took the head coaching job at University of Pacific, and has recently taken the associate head women's tennis coaching role at Tennessee. Rob, you have gone across the entire country. How did it feel to be in Knoxville?
It feels unreal. I came to visit for 2 days, and I think within the first 6 hours of being there, I was like, this is where I want to be. Like, the people have been awesome. The Southern culture has been great as well. The athletic department is just a powerhouse. You can feel it the minute you walk through the doors.
Yep.
I also have you in the same city, but also I know a lot of people in the town, so that makes a big difference. But the biggest thing out of everything is I had dinner with the girls on the team and with Alison my first night visiting, and I think after that dinner, I knew that I needed to be here and be a part of the program. I think what Alison has done over the 9 years has been exceptional, but the way the girls are, the way they compete on the court, and who they are as people is something that I was excited to be a part of pretty quickly.
So there's a lot of talk about Tennessee athletics and how amazing a job the whole athletic department is doing in terms of fundraising and what they're doing for their student athletes in every sport. What's it like? What's it actually like to go in there in a meeting and seeing Josh Heupel and Rick Barnes and all these amazing coaches around you and staff members? What does that actually, can you give anyone listening today what it feels like to actually work for Tennessee Athletics?
I think it's just good to be surrounded by excellence. I mean, I've never really experienced an athletic department of this size and been a part of it. And our first staff meeting, I remember Danny White introduced all the newcomers and made it very clear that he was all in on every sport. And so you can talk about the best college football head coach or basketball head coach, but it's pretty clear that this athletic department values all the sports and are willing to invest in all the sports to make sure that we all have, excellent programs that are doing well on and off the court.
So let's talk about the team. Let's talk about the Lady Vols. Obviously, I worked at Tennessee on the men's side for 7 years at the same time. I saw a lot of success under Allison's leadership. Great friend of mine, obviously. Tell us, why are the Lady Vols, why are they having so much success? What is it? They made the Final Four. They're in the top 10 pretty much over the last X amount of years. Powerhouse program. What is it that you see in such a short period of time that Allison's doing to help this team become great?
I think this program has nailed the balance between enjoying the experience and taking their tennis very seriously. I think Allison and the team have created a culture where they're enjoying each other's company. The minute they're off the court, they're singing, they're dancing, they're enjoying each other's experiences. But on the court, they are so dedicated. They want to get better. And I think that they've literally got that balance like perfectly. It's not so stressful and serious that everyone can't kind of like relax and be who they are as people. The girls feel very safe in the environment, and they can express themselves. And I think that allows them to perform well on the court.
What message would you give to any recruit who is thinking about coming to Tennessee? Why should they join the Tennessee women's tennis program?
I mean, I feel like even though I've only been here since May, I could talk for an hour about why they should be a part of the program. So my gut is always like, just come see it. Like, come be a part of it. Come sit there and watch a practice. Come watch how energetic the coaching staff and the players are. Come look at how engaged they are. Get to know the girls on the team. I think there are so many college tennis coaches that are just, I'm the best coach and this is the best program, and they sing from the rooftops, which is great. But I think it's the players that are the real ones that can express that. And if you come and watch how they operate, it's you'll soon find like this is a pretty special place to be.
Love it. Well, for those of you that don't know, the second assistant for the Tennessee women's tennis program is Martine Prata, who played for me at Tennessee. And I vividly remember going over to Portugal to ask Martine to come on a visit. And he said no. At first, he said no because he was going to go pro. So I think this is an example for a lot of coaches out there who are trying to get players to come to college, but they don't actually realize until they come on campus how good it is. Martine got on campus. He absolutely loved it. 3 years later in Fayetteville, Arkansas, he clinched the SEC. So he is back in Knoxville. How is it working with Martine? How's that whole relationship going?
He's fantastic. I mean, I don't know if I've come across a guy that is this like dedicated and on it, and like he's just outworking all of us, and it's kind of annoying me a little bit. I wish I could be the one outworking him, but he seems to be working hours that I'm not awake. But it's been a pleasure working with him. He can jump into practice, and he's just pushing himself, and he's pushing the girls, and so it's fun to work with him for sure.
How much is he hitting?
He's hitting a good amount. He's definitely asking to hit as well, which is like, he loves to get a sweat on. He's a big fan of the gym as well. So yeah, no, it's been a good time.
Let's go back to you. Okay. I think this is an interesting topic here, not only for you in your career, but I think it's similar to a lot of coaches out there. You went from a mid-major and you were a head coach, and you took a Power 5, Power 4 role as an associate head coach. Not only that, you went from the men's side to the women's side. Tell us a little bit about why the decision-making was there, because for those of you that don't know, Robin turned Pacific around. They had unbelievable records last year. They were ranked higher than X amount of years. Rob, you can tell us what kind of the success you had there, but I think everyone in the country knows that you turned the program around, right? You've taken the job at Tennessee as the associate head coach. Why did you do that? And what advice would you give to other coaches who are out there maybe in a similar situation?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think I want to push myself to be as good a coach as I can be. When I graduated from Drake, I wanted to be, learn from a national championship head coach, and that was one of the reasons I went to Baylor for 2 years and try to learn as much as I could from that program. Then I had the opportunity to rebuild a program as a head coach on the men's side, which was anyone that's listening now that has had that same opportunity knows that it's one of the hardest things you can possibly do when you're trying to build a culture and a program from scratch. But learned a ton about myself. And then I wanted to be a part of a top SEC program. And for me, it was more about the program being right than it was about whether it's a men's or a women's or and I knew if I was going to be an associate head coach, I needed to work with staff that were going to be supportive and collaborative, but also a team of people that were just as invested as I'm going to be, or I am. And Tennessee was checking all of those boxes. And so actually it was a really difficult decision because I had an unbelievable experience at Pacific, and I have, I love the guys that I worked with and coached there. But coming here, it's been unbelievable, even though I've only been here since May.
And by the way, just so everyone knows as well, Rob and I both played at Drake for a mid-major. We strung our own rackets for 4 years. We did not have the bells and whistles. Drake is a phenomenal school, phenomenal program. I think we had a decent amount of success there, Rob, but I love the mid-major mindset. I absolutely love it. So when you compare where you were before to where you are now, what's different? Like what are some things? Are there things you struggle with, right? Because I'll be honest with you, when I took the Tennessee job with Woody, there were things I struggled with. I struggled how easy it was to get nice things, and I struggled with certain things that kids asked for, and I felt like we were a bit spoiled. Have you seen this any, like, no negative at all towards being part of an amazing program, but how has that felt for you as a coach to go from that to now at Powerhouse?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I mean, a lot of these mid-major head coaches or even smaller head coaches of smaller programs, they just get used to doing everything. I mean, I was doing like everything with the program outside of coaching was had to be handled through the head coach. And now, all of the staff and all the support that we have now, it changes things, but I think it can be a real positive too, because it can allow you to narrow the focus on some really important things and take development to a whole new level rather than me worrying about all of the other little things. In terms of the girls, I think it comes down to culture again. I mean, if you have a good culture and the girls are respectful and they understand the situation they're in is amazing and they are appreciative of that experience, then it goes a long way. Yeah. And I think, I would say times are changing, but I feel like they have. I feel like in the recruiting process, a while ago, it used to be, I'm so grateful for this coach to even speak to me on the phone. And a lot of times it's like, what more can you get me? What more can you get me? And I think that's where culture is essential. And I think another reason as to why this program has had so much success is because they're grateful. They're grateful for the things that they get. They're not just sitting there asking for more, give me more, give me more. They're saying thank you. I mean, I've been here one day at All Americans with 3 girls, and they've said thank you to me after every dinner, after driving, even halfway, we got to a gas station. They were saying, thanks for driving. It's like, this is what makes programs great, is the culture and how people are acting on a daily basis.
Yeah, I will 100% agree with that. Culture. I think sometimes as coaches, maybe we get, I definitely feel like that now that I've stepped away from the coaching world, but maybe we get too into stats, too into results, too into rankings. Like, the importance of culture and the importance of character of a student athlete is huge, especially when you put them amongst a team. So anyway, back to you. Who are you as a coach? What do you believe in? What are some things that you stand by where this is me, I'm Robin Goodman, and this is who I am as a coach? Can you explain to everyone on that one?
I think it's taken me a little while actually to figure that out. And I think I've probably the last 5 years at Pacific, I start to try and figure out who I actually am, and be that person as much as I can be. And who I actually am, I think, is a very positive, very energetic guy his goal is to help. My goal is to help the team with everything on the court, off the court, and do everything I can to help them be successful. I think the things that I value is the team has to bring it every day. They have to work hard every single day in practice. I think quality of practice is key to success. And the only way that you can do that on a team is if everyone is supporting each other. And so I value being vocal with one another on the practice court. I don't want to be a part of a program that runs like just solely individual without thinking about the people that you're on court next to, or you're doing a drill and you've got to help the person on the other side of the net as well. You got to think about the team first at practice. And I think that's something that I believe a lot of. And one last thing, I think, James, you can agree to this. The reason we had some success when we were playing in our team was because we competed and fought incredibly hard. And I think a lot of that comes from those 20-hour bus drives with bags up to your laps, up to your eyes, whatever. But I think when we're competing, we have to be competing 100% in everything that we do. And I think every coach will say that, I think, but actually going out there and implementing that is a whole other story. But that's a challenge and a good one.
Yeah, and I think this is actually very interesting because there's a fine line here, and I think a lot of coaches do it differently, which is great. Is you've got the team aspect, but then you also have the individual aspect. And I hear of, when we were at Tennessee, it was mornings were individuals and afternoons we were going to compete. That was our system. That being said, I hear at different schools, it's all individual, or it's one coach to 3 guys, and that's his 3 guys for the next 3 months or whatever. What's your take on that? How do you think, is there a magic formula in college tennis, or is it depending on the team and the players that you have?
I think every team naturally forms an identity, and I think that identity is often mimics what the head coach's philosophy is. And so if the head coach's philosophy is, I'm going to develop players to make it on Pro Tour, and the best way we can do that is by tweaking each individual, and we'll have no team practices and every individual is only development, then the team identity becomes that, and then tends to be a little less caring for one another and a little less pushing each other on the match court. Our philosophy at Tennessee is much more collaborative. I was watching the girls playing through the NCAA tournament, and I could feel that they were playing as a team through the screen. There's high fives with coaches all the time. There's the energy. They're bouncing around all the time. That collaboration, I think, is how we run the program. And I think that helps when they can push each other, they can take their performance to another level, which you can't do when you're just on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So back to your coaching. It's 3-all in the third. You're up 3-2 in the dual match. The other court is 3-2 in the third. And on your court, you have a deciding point. Your player is serving. Back to who you are as a coach. Are you more of a hands-on, this is what I would like you to do? Or are you more of a stand by the bench, I trust my player, she's gonna go do it? Who are you in that situation?
That's a great question. I actually think it depends a little bit on the player, on who you're coaching and what they need in that moment. I think some players might need a nudge to commit to doing the right thing. Some players might need where do you want to serve, and then go for it. Some players might look like they have got it under control and not want any interference because they're in their routine and they look good. So I think it's a little bit of an art when it comes to that, and I think you have to know the player and know the person. I think a lot of coaches make a mistake of overcoaching.
I did. I think that I can sit here and say I think I made the mistake. Yes, agree.
But I think it's a little bit of like you got to feel it out a little bit, and choose the times and you know, Matt Knoll Baylor always used to say the number one rule in coaching is do no harm. So
Right.
I always think about that when I'm about to say something. I'm like, I need to make sure what I say is right, because if it's not, it could do harm. So I think some people that tend to overcoach can often hurt the player.
Yeah, because I think my advice to coaches now, just from being the outside looking in, is I think because of the pressure of it with deciding points and line calls and spectators and cheering and all this pressure, what you tend to see when you're watching a college tennis duel match on TV is overcoaching. You see coaches coming across from the bench, and I'm pretty sure the rule is you're not allowed more than like 4 feet or 3 feet from the bench. That rule gets violated every single match, right?
Yeah.
So I would personally love to see coaches take a step back and let the players play. But I made the mistake and I understand the pressure. So switching to UTR and the Lady Vols, you are currently ranked statistically around 15, somewhere in that range by UTR. Obviously, I'm a big fan of UTR, obviously, but also going back to coaching, I would sit there and look at team rankings and look at matchups through the dual match that we have coming up, and I would overlook at that. But I would say at the end of the year, it was very accurate. Where do you think you are right now? What are your expectations as a program this year? And what thoughts do you have for everyone?
I think UTR is incredibly accurate. I'm using it all the time, whether it's in a dual match, or even, you know, now All Americans to have a look at results from opponents and whatever. But I think we like sometimes have to separate the coach's hat from what you're communicating to the players. And I think for the coaches, we need to be very much in the know with UTR and analyzing that. But then with the players, it needs to be all about development and in the now and being as good as you can be right now. And so I try and separate those two. But yeah, so I'm not really looking at like, oh, we're UTR number 15, we need to get, you know, to number 13 or whatever. Like, it's more about, you know, us developing and doing the right things each day, and then the UTR is gonna follow.
Also on UTR, why have you hosted so many PTT events? Knoxville, Tennessee men's and women's tennis. Why do you host them?
The biggest thing that I noticed with coaching in mid-majors versus some of the power programs is the top programs have players that are constantly playing. And they go in the summer, they're playing week in, week out. And I think the amount of matches our girls have been able to get through these PTTs, even already through the summer, but even all the way through the fall, their development is like, it's clear that they're getting better through those, and they're better by the end of the tournament than they are at the beginning, just because they're able to maybe lose a match, tweak parts of their game, and go again the next day, rather than lose a match, you know, get on a fly to another country to play a futures, and then, you know, all of a sudden maybe you've forgotten exactly what happened in that last match and you need to revisit it. So getting just back-to-back matches has been enormous for us, but also the finances to be able to help the players, you know, financially is a massive asset as well.
Are there certain people throughout your career? I apologize, Rob, for all the questions, but I'm actually really enjoying this. Are there certain people throughout your career, whether it's a player or another coach or a mentor, that you can sit here now and say, I'm not where I am without this person, or I learned so much from this person?
Yeah, great question. I think a big part of our job is trying to learn from as many people as possible. I've mentioned Matt Knoll. I mean, he was the first kind of mentor that I had, you know, for 2 years. Still keep in touch with him. I was also fortunate enough to get to know somebody called John Dunning, who was a national championship volleyball coach. Actually won a national championship at Pacific and a national championship at Stanford as the head volleyball coach. He was hired at at Pacific to help the coaches, and he's become a close mentor of mine, and I call him probably every week. And he doesn't know anything about tennis, but he knows how to manage people, and he knows how to win. And he asks the right questions that help me grow as who I am as a person, but also, as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Why do you call him? Why do you feel like you need to call him? Well, how does he help you?
Because I think when we're dealing with development and humans, you come across so many different scenarios that you haven't experienced before.
Right.
And if you come across a situation you haven't experienced before, you have somebody that's been in the game and been at the top level of the game, whatever game it is, for 35, 40 years. They've probably been through that experience before. And so, especially, I think a lot of coaches, especially young coaches, often make rash decisions that hurt the program or the player, or they say something that they weren't supposed to say, and now that player was a freshman and they're holding it against you when they're a junior because you made one mistake. Whatever. I don't think we should be criticizing every mistake, but the point being said is, when we're dealing with a group of humans interacting with one another, situations come like that you've never experienced before. And if you have somebody that can give you a bit of advice, like I would actually consider it handling it that way, that's been through it and has success doing it, I think it's important to take that advice.
All right. Well, Rob, really appreciate your time. Can't wait to see you when you're back in Knoxville. Few things to finish. Rob and I played at Drake and arguably were two of the best athletes with the worst backhands in the country. You wouldn't see either of us put two hands on the racket on the left side of our body, but we tried and we competed very hard, very similar game style, actually. Rob, do you have a favorite sport other than tennis that you can share with our listeners on this pod?
I think you know the answers to this question, James. But yeah, I love the game of golf.
Yes.
I love getting out there on a nice warm day and striping some fairways when I can. Mostly it's the woods, but yeah, it's.
What is your level? What is your level at golf? Truly, how good are you?
I have a wide range, but I reckon I'm somewhere between 72 and 80.
Yep, I agree with that. Just so everyone knows, Rob is a phenomenal athlete, very talented in many different things, and I actually think he should be mid-60s, so he's actually underachieving a little bit. Last question I have for you, Rob. You've just won an SEC road match. You're in the minivan. Everyone's all going nuts. The music's going. The windows are open. And you have to stop somewhere to get food. And it's a Sunday. You don't play again for another week. It's a Sunday. It's 4 o'clock. You've got a 6-hour drive. And the girls are hungry. And you need to stop and get food. Where are you going and why?
Wow. Well, the only reason I'm going to say this is because at Pacific, my guys were raving about an In-N-Out burger in California, and I would never let them get In-N-Out, of course. And then we won this huge. I think we'd be Pepperdine maybe, and we're on the road, and I didn't say anything, and I just took a right straight into In-N-Out. And the guys went absolutely berserk, and they were screaming, and they were asking for doubles or whatever. So that would probably be an experience I'd like to repeat at some point.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Rob, appreciate your time. Good luck in Tulsa. All the best to Lady Vols. I'm looking forward to watching you all this spring. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening.
Thanks, James.